Greetings, everyone, and welcome to the CPG webinar for new administrators. This webinar will offer a high-level overview of the basic information you will need to manage the employee benefits that your organization secures through the Church Pension Group. Thank you for taking the time out of your busy days to join us. Now, I'm pleased to introduce today's presenters. We have Tony Marie Sutliff, Client Financial Education Specialist in our Education and Wellness Department, and Bob Griffith, Director of Client Learning and Resources with our IBAMS department. Welcome, Tony Marie. Welcome, Bob. And
Thank you.
I'm Elisa Moore, your producer for today. Feel free to send me a direct chat message if you need any assistance. Before I turn it over to our presenters, let's review today's agenda. First, we will provide background information that will give you a bit of insight into CPG and how we do our work together. Then we'll look into who you are as an administrator working with CPG and our mutual expectations, followed by the administrator's resources available to you. And last, we will cover the employee benefit transactions that you will undertake. Now, I'd like to turn it over to Bob Griffith.
Thank you, Lisa. And I know for a variety of the administrators who are attending today, some of you are very experienced and seasoned in the jobs that you've done for a while. And hopefully most of you are brand new administrators that have been on the job for maybe a week or two, or maybe even a year, and just want to learn more about the process and the things that you're going to be doing as an administrator. So we realized a while ago that many new administrators are often unfamiliar with the Church Pension Group and how we fit into the greater Episcopal Church. As a result, what many seasoned administrators consider common knowledge may be anything but common to you. So we want to spend a few minutes providing some background information about CPG and how we work together to provide your employees with benefits. Next slide, please. As Mary Kate Wald, our CEO, says, we are passionate about our purpose. So what is that purpose, you may ask? While CPG offers a variety of employee benefit products, the pension funds are at the core and center of our being. We strive to offer our clients financial security in retirement through exemplary financial stewardship and a unique understanding of the evolving needs of the Episcopal Church. As CPG as a company has over 100 years of partnership with the Episcopal Church, the Clergy Pension Group, or the Clergy Pension Fund, began as an incorporated entity in 1914 through the work of Bishop William Lawrence of Massachusetts. Bishop Lawrence began with the dream to provide funds for retiring clergy who often ended up in poverty after their lifetime of faithful service to the people of the church. Bishop Lawrence first brought to General Convention a proposal for a pension fund in 1910. 3 years later, the General Convention voted to establish the Clergy Pension Fund. In understanding our continuing place within the Episcopal Church structure, to this day, the General Convention elects the Board of Trustees of the clergy or of the Church Pension Fund. CPG as a company is a regulated financial services nonprofit incorporated in the state of New York and bound by the various laws of the states and federal governments. The pension funds for lay employees and clergy are protected through these regulations. To describe the benefits and services CPG makes available to institutions affiliated with the Greater Episcopal Church, we offer pension and retirement savings plans through the Church Pension Fund, healthcare benefits through the Episcopal Church Medical Trust, life insurance and disability coverage through the Church Life Insurance Company, and for all of the members enrolled in these benefits, and to you, the administrators who manage them, CPG sponsors seminars, webinars, conferences, and a bunch of online educational opportunities to learn about our products, physical and mental health, personal living best practices, financial well-being, and general wellness. In addition to employee benefits, CPG also makes available property, casualty, and liability insurances through the church insurance companies, and then books, church supplies, and official church, Episcopal Church worship materials through the Church Publishing Incorporated. All of these products and services are made available to Episcopal Church employers and institutions, whether they be schools, seminaries, social service organizations, camps and conference centers, dioceses, congregations, hospitals, and many other types of institutions. So let's move on to describe the role of benefits administrators and the relationship between you and CPG. CPG understands an administrator to be a person who works in partnership with us to provide benefits to your clergy and lay employees. With the launch of My Admin Portal earlier this year, there is a new way of understanding administrator types and roles. And as MAP continues to evolve, some of the types and roles that I'm going to describe to you in this session will be slightly different going into the future as additional functionalities come online. There is the diocese administrator type, and the role of these administrators are to manage benefits for dioceses and the institutions under the authority of the individual diocese, and includes managing employment, such as new hire, leave of absence, and termination of employment, making compensation changes, enrolling and termination of pension and retirement plans, enrollment and termination of group health, life, and disability benefits, updating institution information, and assigning new institution administrators for institutions under the authority of the diocese. There is the institution administrator type, and the role of these administrators, or the roles of these administrators, are to manage the local institutions, such as congregations and schools as examples. You will notice that diocese and institution administrators can accomplish many of the same tasks, the difference being the scope of responsibility for either multiple or single employers. Institution administrator tasks include managing employment benefits for the local employer, making compensation changes for your own employees, enrollment and termination of pension and retirement plans, updating institutional information, and assigning new institution administrator access for your own institution. The group administrator type is responsible for Episcopal associations of institutions, such as the Episcopal Camps and Conference Centers, or ECCC. Group administrators manage enrollment and termination of group health, life, and disability benefits. And then there are two considerations to note. For institutions belonging to associations such as ECCC, their own local institution administrator will handle employment and pension-related tasks. And then, secondly, there are a few examples of institution administrators of larger employers with separate group health, life, and disability policies with CPG that also can manage enrollments in group health, life, and disability benefits. And most of you, if any of you are on this call or on this webinar, you know who you are. These are the designations for administrator types and roles. But at this point, what about expectations and responsibilities? In our partnership, there are expectations between you and CPG. What can you expect from us at CPG? You can expect us to work closely with our benefit groups to provide robust, cost-effective employee benefits. Most importantly, you can expect us to seek out information and input from those benefit groups and you as administrators to make available to you and members different channels of support and assistance, both live and online, such as a knowledgeable and understanding client services call center. Provide timely communication of important news and updates about benefit products, policies, procedures, and regulations. Make available administrator and member education opportunities through webinars, conferences, and individual education options. Continue to work with our network of vendors to ensure access to the best possible care at the most appropriate price for the whole church, and to understand the changing needs of the church. And this is important because there are a lot of different insurance companies and vendors out there who do a good job as we do, but they don't understand the uniqueness of the church. And that's one of the things that CPG does provide to the church. Now, as an administrator, what does CPG expectations for the work that you do? What are CPG's expectations for your work? And Tony Marie will detail those expectations.
Thanks, Bob. Before we move on, we did have a question come in that I think would be appropriate to answer right now. You committed the cardinal sin of using the acronym TCSM when you talked about MAP, or My Administrative Portal. Can you explain what TCSM is?
TCSM is more internal talk, and it's a larger process that CPG has been involved in for the last few years that takes up the task of expanding and bringing online web self-service for both administrators and members. So TCSM is, I don't remember exactly what the acronym is, changing the client service model. It's, I'm not sure quite what T stands for, but that's what it stands for. And MAP and the expanded functionality in my CPG accounts is all part of that.
Thanks, Bob. So going back to what our expectations are of you, CPG offers, as Bob has just described, healthcare benefits, disability and life products, and pension and retirement plans for Episcopal clergy and lay employees in partnership with the diocese, the churches, and the institutions. We expect you, the administrator of employee benefits in your organization, to perform your part of the partnership. Bob has explained what our part is. So what is your part? Well, first, we rely on you to determine whether an employee and that employee's dependents are eligible for each of the benefits that are available. If you enroll a person or ask your diocesan administrator to enroll a person, you are responsible for ensuring that the individual meets the plan's eligibility requirements. If that person is later found not to be eligible, you or your organization bear the responsibility for any damages caused to that employee, to your organization, and to CPG. So please be aware of what our eligibility rules are. You must also enroll and terminate eligible employees on a timely basis. And if you don't, that employee may lose eligibility, or you may be required to pay for coverage after the person should have been terminated. So for example, a newly hired employee must be enrolled in healthcare benefits within 30 days of first employment, and then coverage begins on the first of the month after that date of hire. If you miss the deadline, with some very rare exceptions, that person will have to wait until the next annual enrollment period to be covered. Or another example, newly hired employees must be enrolled within 31 days of hire for group life benefits. And if you miss that deadline, the person will have to undergo medical underwriting to be allowed to enroll, which may mean that they miss out on that benefit. In the same vein, you must terminate your employee's benefits within 30 days after the date of separation. And if you don't, you will pay the monthly contribution, which is our term for premium, the contribution costs, until that employee is properly terminated. So where do you find the eligibility and timing rules for all of our benefits? You can review the administrative policy manual for the healthcare benefit rules, and you can look at the plan documents themselves for the life and disability and retirement plan rules. And all of those documents are on our website. You can also call our client services team, or if you have been assigned an account representative, you can call that representative. We'll talk about that more in just a minute. Our second expectation is we would like you to train your newly enrolled staff in their benefits, including how to use the MyCPG accounts web self-service process. And you'll find lots of help on our website, including engaging webinars that explain in simple terms the benefits and how to take advantage of them. And if you'd like to host an educational session for all of your employees, especially during annual enrollment, when your employees have a chance to review and change their benefits, please contact your diocesan administrator or your IBAMS account representative. Third, we expect you to remind your employees that they can make personal demographic information changes through their MyCPG accounts portal or by calling our client services team. Again, we'll cover that in more detail in a few minutes. And you can also make those changes through MAP, which is my administrative portal, but it's better if the employee does it herself. And finally, you have to review your invoices each month to make sure everything is correct. And sometimes this is the way you will realize you haven't properly terminated an employee's benefits or maybe even enrolled them. And of course, we expect you to make timely payments on the invoices that you receive. So our next slide is going to take us to the resources that we have available to help you. The Administrators Resource Center has been available for several years, 10 years now. And we recently restructured it just to make it a little more friendly. It does give you quick access to important items that are found elsewhere on our website, such as on the landing page itself to the Administrator Resource Center. You see an explanation of my admin portal or map, and then links to various guides and resources. And in the left-hand navigation vein, you will also see links to some important items, including events, which will show you past and future webinars and our 2 conferences, who to contact, including account manager assignments. And I think I saw a question about account managers or IBAMS representatives. We'll talk about that a little more in a minute. So who to contact, including the account managers, the medical trust itself, and our health plan carriers like Blue Cross Blue Shield and Cigna, and also how to contact your local representatives for the church insurance agency corporations, which is the property and casualty insurance. You'll also find recent updated documents and mailings so that if one of your employees calls and said, I just got this mailing, what is it? You will know that you can go here and look at it yourself. So you'll know what they're talking about. We have a whole section on what's available in Spanish. And then toward the bottom there, you see links to guides and resources such as what to do when you hire or terminate an employee, or an employee changes their life situation. We're going to refer to those a few times in this next few minutes. So let's go over a few of these in a little bit more detail, starting with the next slide. When you click on the events over in the left-hand navigation panel, several sub-items appear, including our webinars and our 2 conferences. And you can click on any of those links to get more information, including how to register for upcoming webinars and then how to replay past webinars, because as Lisa said at the beginning, we do record these and make them available to you. Our 2 conferences that we have every year are described there. So if you're interested, if you've not heard about them or attended, you can find some information. And then when it's time, you can see how to register. The next slide will show us how to contact various people that you might need to contact. You'll find links here to our benefit vendors like Blue Cross Blue Shield and Cigna and all of our vendors, how to contact church insurance people, that's property and casualty. And as highlighted here, Lisa, if you can show up that next thing there, you can see the account managers and their assignments. So you'll see their pictures, you'll see how to contact them, and then a link over on the left-hand side of that page that has the pictures on it will allow you to access or to see who's assigned to what. So you can find out who is assigned to your entity. Our next slide shows you the link to guides and resources, which has lots of information, such as understanding your bills. So when you get a bill and don't know what you're looking at, you can go here and see an example. And also checklists on what to do in various situations, like hiring a new clergy person or a new lay employee. And again, we're going to refer to those several times over the next few minutes. The next slide shows the resources that we have in Spanish. And if you don't speak Spanish, it's the phrase that says recursos en español. And you can show this link to any of your folks that prefer to communicate in Spanish, including how to find specific information about CPG, forms and publications, educational resources available to them, notices and documents, videos, medical resources, church publishing resources, and our CPG policies. Now I'm going to turn you back over to Bob, who will remind you about some additional resources that are available to you. Bob?
Thank you, Tony Marie. You're going to hear us repeat resources a number of times throughout this webinar, both that appear in the Administrators Resource Center, or ARC, and the My Admin Portal, or MAP. We just want to emphasize those. We hear a lot from administrators often saying, we're not sure how to do this, or we're not sure where to find information. So hopefully by saying it a number of times, it'll get in your head to know where to go to look for this information that will help you do your jobs effectively and efficiently. So similar to what is available in ARC, there is a growing number of resources available in MAP to help you complete that work and help you to do it as easily as possible. After you log into MAP, and what you see on screen now is an example of the resources landing page in MAP. So once you log into MAP, if you click on the resources tab in the upper navigation bar, and this screenshot highlights the who to call section, similar to ARC that Tony Marie just talked about, but this is under resources in MAP. And you can click on the links to find the contact information for live assistance. And then the other example is the employment events, as Tony Marie mentioned, in ARC. And in this section, you will find the what to do checklists for tasks involved in employment management. And then you'll notice to the right, you will see life events checklists. And as was mentioned earlier in ARC, there are links to checklists that help you know what to do when, say, an employee gets married or an employee has a child or something along those lines. If after looking for online resources, you simply cannot find what you need, or the issue that you're dealing with is a little more complex, the CPG Client Services Call Center is an excellent next step in your process. Our call center is open and available to administrators and members Monday through Friday from 8:30 a.m. to 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Our representatives are ready and able to answer questions, provide information, and help to resolve any issue that you may be experiencing. And please note this, they cannot offer you any help or your employees any help to decide on what kind of health plan to select or how or where to put a member if they want to enroll. And they do not provide tax or legal advice. We simply don't have the capability of doing those sort of things. However, they can answer questions on CPG products and services and escalate complex issues for resolution if need be. They can be contacted at the phone number or by the email address shown. IBAM's account representatives, often referred to as account managers, are assigned to groups that have direct employee benefits relationships with CPG, such as dioceses, large institutions, large employers that are not under the authority of dioceses, such as seminaries or healthcare centers, that sort of thing, and independent schools, to just name a few. Account representatives are all regionally based and are here to provide you with consultative and personalized service. They can offer assistance in resolving complex issues and work behind the scenes internally with CPG folks to ensure that our clients are being served as best we can. Tony Marie, I'm handing it back to you.
Thanks, Bob. Before we move on, I neglected to tell you exactly how to get to the ARC. So let me tell you, you can go there directly by going to cpg.org/ARC. That will take you directly there. If you can't remember that, or if you forget, go to our website, cpg.org. And when it asks what audience you are, you click on administrator. It'll pull up the administrator landing page and you'll see a link to the ARC. So it's easy to get to. And you should probably bookmark that so you can get to it whenever you need it. So let's take a look at the various employee benefit transactions that you'll be using with us, starting on the next slide, which identifies the basic transactions that you'll be expected to perform as an administrator, depending on your role and responsibilities within your organization. And we'll go over each one in some detail, but we're going to go over how to enroll a new employee or their dependents into benefits, healthcare benefits, how to discontinue their enrollment, how to pay your invoices to Fidelity, to CPG pension, the group life and disability, the healthcare, the property casualty, how to update information about your organization and about individuals, how to make plan selections during annual enrollment, and then how to file various claims. So let's start with the next slide, enrolling a new employee. So remember, the first step when you hire a new employee, clergy or lay, is to determine whether that employee is eligible for the benefits you offer. And then once you've determined eligibility, you begin the enrollment process by entering that employee in MAP, My Admin Portal. The first step here is done by the employing entity, and that's who we call the institution. So it could be the diocese, a church, a school, a camp, a conference center, a seminary. It is the hiring entity. And that entity, the employer, also then enrolls the new employee into the appropriate retirement or pension benefit, depending on what is offered, all through MAP. Then the second step is to enroll that new employee into group benefits, which are health, life, and disability. That's it, health, life, and disability. And that enrollment is done primarily by the diocesan administrator, because the diocese has the authority over what plans are offered to the institutions under its control. Now, Bob did describe entities that are not under a diocesan control, like some of our seminaries, or some institutions that have grouped together for the purpose of offering group benefits like ECCC, or some entities, some institutions that have a direct contract with us. In those cases, the group administrator will be doing the enrollments into the group health, life, and disability benefits. Now, both of these steps are done in MAP, and we will go over in detail about how to do that in the second webinar, which is on Thursday. And if you have any questions about the new hire process, please do go to ARC and pull up the new hire checklists that you'll find there. And we have a great video on our website that you can provide to your new employees to help them understand their benefits. So I'd like to have you watch it now so you can see.
Hello and welcome. As a participant in a benefits program offered through the Church Pension Fund and its affiliates, known as the Church Pension Group, you have access to a network of benefits created to support your health and wellness: financial, physical, and behavioral. This means you have access to savings plans and healthcare benefits that can cover you and your beneficiaries, all ready when you need them. Be sure you become acquainted with your benefits and take full advantage of your benefits package. This suite of courses can serve as your go-to resource. You'll be able to explore your benefits and discover ways to leverage them for your situation. These are your benefits. Now's the time to find out how to make them work best for you.
Thanks, Lisa. That video is on our website. So if you would like to download that and hand it off to any of your new employees, please feel free to do that. So our next slide will talk about enrolling dependents. Now, your employees can add their own dependents to their healthcare benefits during the annual enrollment session, which happens each fall, for coverage that starts for the next calendar year. But what about adding dependents outside of annual enrollment, such as an employee getting married and now having stepchildren to cover, or having a baby or adopting a child? These are called significant life events. So again, you start by determining whether the dependent is eligible by reviewing the administrative policy manual, and then you make sure you process the enrollment of the dependents in a timely fashion. Dependents can be added if done within 30 days of the significant life event, and then coverage is effective on the first of the month after the significant life event. But one quick note about newborn babies. If a newborn is added within 30 days after the birth, the baby is covered as of the birth, as of the date of the birth, doesn't have to wait to the first of the month after the birth. So the baby gets covered, a newborn baby gets covered from the date of birth if they're added within 30 days. So your employee can add these new dependents, spouses, children, new babies, whatever, using their MyCPG accounts, but then they should notify you that the dependents need to be enrolled in healthcare benefits, which you will do, or the diocese or group administrator will do using MAP. You can also add the dependents in MAP if the employee doesn't do it through their MyCPG account or doesn't know how to do that. But remember, adding dependents may change the tier and thus the cost of the coverage. So for example, if the employee is enrolled in single coverage and adds a spouse, the tier will change to employee plus spouse or employee plus one. And the monthly cost will then go up to that tier's level. Now, the tier might not change if, for example, the employee is enrolled in family coverage and then adds another child. The coverage and cost will stay at the family level. The new tier with the new cost will be effective the first of the month after the significant life event occurred that allowed the addition of the dependent. If your employee has purchased supplemental life insurance for children, the employee should complete a form, which you can find by calling our client services team, to add those new children to the policy. The premium doesn't change. It's a flat premium no matter how many children are included, and children do not have to undergo underwriting to be included. But you should also know and then remind your employees to ensure that beneficiary information for all the life policies and retirement accounts is current, considering that they're now new dependents. And finally, please notify CPG or have your new employee or any employee notify us promptly if a dependent child becomes disabled, as that affects the child's ability to retain benefits after certain ages. And it's not as clear-cut as you might think. So it's a good idea to contact client services to make sure you enroll a new child in all appropriate benefits at the right time, and that you understand what a disability means for those children if it's appropriate. So our next slide is going to talk about how to terminate benefits. We talked about how to enroll the employee and the benefits, but the flip side is how to discontinue their benefits. And when might you need to do that? Well, the employee or a dependent may have died and is no longer eligible for the benefit. Or, for example, our healthcare plans allow dependents to be enrolled as a dependent of the employee until the end of the calendar year in which the dependent turns 30. So January 1 of the next year, the dependent is no longer eligible and the benefit must be discontinued. Similarly, in a divorce, the spouse will no longer be eligible for coverage. Or if an employee's job changes and the employee no longer works the number of hours required to meet the eligibility threshold, then that employee's benefit must be discontinued. Or, of course, an employee and a dependent's benefits must be discontinued when they get divorced, or if there is a termination of the employment. In some cases, the employee and the dependents will be eligible for an extension of benefits. We call that EOB. You'll probably hear that. EOB means extension of benefits. And that's similar to what you know as COBRA, continuation coverage. And you can see a full list of the significant life events in the Administrative Policy Manual. But the important thing is to terminate coverage within 30 days of the significant life event. And how do you do that? Well, the employing entity, the institution or the diocese, terminates employment in MAP, and that automatically terminates active status in a pension or a retirement plan. And right now, today, terminating group health, life, or disability benefits requires that the diocese or the group administrator do that in MAP as a separate thing. But in just a few weeks, in fact, maybe even just a couple of weeks, we'll be releasing the second version of TCSM, which is that new software and process, which will automatically terminate all benefits when employment is terminated. However, the diocese or the group administrator will still have to use MAP to terminate active status in the lay defined benefit plan and to terminate enrollment in group benefits, health, life, and disability if the employee is still working, is not been separated from employment, but is no longer eligible for benefits, or if a dependent should be terminated for benefits for some reason. Now, the ARC has checklists to help you stay on track with all the things that need to be done when terminating benefits. Our next slide will take us into paying invoices. The medical trust creates monthly invoices for each list bill. That's a technical term. A list bill is the bill for medical, dental, group life, and disability for an employer. And those invoices are created 1 month in advance. So for example, for August benefits, the invoices are finalized during the first week in July and mailed to the address we have on file for the employer. Payment is due the first of the month for which the invoice is prepared. In our example, August 1st for August benefits. The invoice itself will explain the amount due from the previous month's invoice, payments received, and adjustments made. So enrollments and terminations in the meantime. Amounts due for this month's benefits, and then the total amount due. It will also show you the names of all the employees enrolled and the benefits for which they are enrolled. And then it has a remittance stub with the address to which the payment should be mailed. At the current time, the medical trust does not accept electronic funds transfers payments. You have to actually send a check in. If you have employees enrolled in one of our defined contribution plans, that's the lay defined contribution plan or the RSVP, which are administered by Fidelity, you will send the employer contribution and your employee contributions electronically to Fidelity using one of their 2 online systems. One's called SKIP, the Simplified Contribution Platform, and the other one is called PSW, Fidelity Plan Sponsor Web Station. Fidelity no longer takes paper transmittal forms, but in either case, you don't get an invoice directly from us. You're going to pay your contributions to Fidelity. Information on how to access and use either of these 2 systems is on our website in ARC, and we're going to go over that process in a little more detail on Thursday. If you have clergy enrolled in the clergy pension plan, or you have lay employees enrolled in the lay defined benefit plan, you will receive a monthly invoice from CPG. Again, it will identify the total amount due from the previous month, payments received, adjustments made, and the current month's assessment, and then the total amount due. And that invoice will also show the names of the clergy or the lay employees that are enrolled, their total assessable compensation, that's TAC, another term you'll hear, total assessable compensation, and the assessment due for each person. And you'll send payment along with the remittance stub that's included with the invoice. It goes to a different place than your payment for medical, dental, insurance, life, and disability. So make sure you don't get those mixed up. And again, we don't take EFT payments at this point. And we're going to talk about the payment process in a little more detail on Thursday. And finally, if your property is covered by church insurance, the church insurance companies, you will receive a monthly invoice from the Church Insurance Agency Corporation, which will show you amount past due on the current chart and the current charges, along with an explanation of the policy types, because there's a lot of different policies involved. And that coverage does allow you to make installment payments, so you don't have to pay the whole amount all at once. For all of these invoices and the payment systems, you can find detailed information and instructions on the ARC in that section called Understanding Your Bills. And we have an example on the next slide. This example shows your pension assessment bill. But as you see farther down on the page, on the web page on the left, you could pull up an example of a medical trust bill and a church insurance bill. And you can also see information, if you see the links there on the left, on sending contributions to Fidelity for the lay defined contribution and the RSVP plans. So let's go to our next slide, which is about how to file claims. So let's actually go to the one after that, Lisa. We hope you don't need to file claims for any of these events, but that probably also means you won't remember how to do it when something does happen. Well, fortunately, our website has information and all the resources you need. And this discussion is just going to give you a brief overview of what needs to happen. For property, whenever you become aware of an actual or potential property damage or other claim covered by your property and casualty policy, which, for example, could be employee misconduct, You should make a report to the church insurance company as soon as possible, even if you don't have all the details. You simply call in or fax the information to the numbers that are on our website, and the correct people will take over and work with you to handle the claim, or whoever needs to handle the claim if it's not you. In disability, if an employee, whether clergy or lay, suffers a disability, that employee can file a claim directly with the vendor, AFLAC. If your group is covered by one of our old policies with Unum, please contact our client services team for assistance. The CPG website has detailed instructions on how to report a disability claim, which includes signing an information release, reporting your claim using an online portal, or calling a listed number. And then once the claim is filed, the process will begin and your employee will be notified of each step. And finally, we have made the process of reporting the death of a covered employee or a dependent very easy. Anyone with information about the death may call or email our client services team, who will then notify all the CPG departments so that the appropriate processes can begin, like life insurance benefits, pension benefits, termination of healthcare benefits. A CPG claims benefit coordinator will be assigned, and that person will send a claims benefit package with all the pertinent information and the necessary documents and forms to the primary beneficiary that's identified under the appropriate policies. And that package can take up to 10 days. Bob, I want to turn it back over to you to talk about annual enrollment.
All right, thank you, Tony Marie. And we can go to annual enrollment. For medical and dental benefits, one of the most important times of the year for an administrator and the medical staff trust here at CPG is the annual enrollment process. Annual enrollment enables members to make plan changes for themselves and their family members, or their eligible family members, for the upcoming plan year. Not all administrators are involved in annual enrollment, but for most of you, this is a very busy time of year. Annual enrollment is a two-step process. The first is group plan selection. In group plan selection, administrators are responsible for assisting their diocese or institution with what healthcare plans offered through the Episcopal Church Medical Trust will be available to their employees for the upcoming year. When the decisions are made and during the prescribed selection period, the designated diocese or group administrator will make the plan selections. For this year, you will still use the familiar MLPS to make those plan selections, even while you access MLPS through MAP. Then there is member annual enrollment. And member annual enrollment is the time period when members can select new medical and dental plans for themselves and their family members for the upcoming year. Administrators are responsible for preparing their employees for annual enrollment, educating them on the process, and providing information on the plans offered so that members can make informed decisions. There will be a number of annual enrollment resources and education options available, such as for administrators. Administrators will have one place to go for information to help you manage a successful annual enrollment process. And the URL for that, or the address, is cpg.org/AEadmin. Again, that's cpg.org/AEADMIN. This, as we get closer to annual enrollment, this is the central hub where administrators can find continually updated information on this year's AE process. There are renewal and annual enrollment webinars for administrators, and then IBAM's account representatives and client service representatives are available to assist you. For member education opportunities, active members and retirees also have one place to go for information and instructions for annual enrollment, and that's located at the following address, cpg.org/annual enrollment, all spelled out with no spaces. That's cpg.org annual enrollment. You can contact your IBAM's account representative to arrange a member education session for your group. Another reminder of that the health plans themselves, Anthem, Cigna, and Kaiser, have enhanced care management programs that can help members who are currently enrolled to compare plan options and answer benefit questions within their particular vendor group. For members who are interested to compare offerings between our different vendor partners, we continue to offer enrollment support services through Health Advocate. The final task that administrators undertake is to keep your institution and/or the institutions under your responsibility to keep their contact information up to date. There are different ways to update both institutional and individual information. Some or all of these can be available to you as an administrator or as a recipient of employee benefits, depending on the work that you do. Your CPG web sign-in account, your user ID and password, is used to log into CPG systems for both MAP and for MyCPG accounts. For updating information for institutions, the quickest way to update institutional information is through MAP under the Institution tab available to diocese and institution administrators. You can update such things as the name the institution goes by. This is different than the legal name, but this is generally the information or the name that the institution goes by. The mailing and physical addresses, and the physical address is important if you have a policy for property insurance with church insurance. Business phone number, institution email address, and institution's website address. For institutional information that is supplied and updated in MAP, it automatically updates the information that will be published in next year's edition of the Episcopal Church Annual, otherwise known as the Red Book. For individuals, including your own information as a recipient of employee benefits, the best way to update personal information is through for employee members is through their own MyCPG accounts. It's a portal that's available to them and to everyone who receives benefits through CPG, and they are able to access their own account information. You and your employee members can find personal, spousal, and dependent information and details of the employee benefits that you are enrolled in. You can update your personal and contact information, and currently such things as updating for marriage status and for dependents. As CPG continues to roll out new functionalities in web self-service, there will be additional things that members can do through MyCPG accounts. And keep your eyes and ears open for those new functionalities as time goes on. All clergy can update personal and service information for the Episcopal Clerical Directory, or ECD, through MyCPG accounts. And finally, as an administrator, you can update your employee member information through MAP, in addition to managing employee benefits. Because we can never mention this enough, if you are unsure of the process tasks to perform for managing benefits for your employees or for updating information, check out the Guides and Resources section in the Administrators Resource Center, or ARC, at cpg.org/ARC, or in MAP. The screenshot, as an example, shows how to get to the what to do when employee events checklists in ARC. So do you remember where to go to find contact information for CPG people who can assist you live? This screenshot shows how to get to the who to contact section in the ARC. The same contact information can be found in MAP under resources. And Lisa and Tony Marie, I think this is all the information for our attendees. And I'm going to give it back over to you, Lisa.
Thank you, Bob. Yes, thank you. Thank you, Bob and Tony Marie, for this presentation. And thank you all for attending today. We hope that this webinar was helpful to you, that you've learned more about CPG, how we do our work together, and the resources available to you. Thank you in advance for giving us your opinions and suggestions. And thanks again to our presenters. Remember to check out the webinar webpage, Administrators Resource Center, for webinar information and to find this recording. And once again, please give us your feedback in the survey. This will conclude our webinar. Thank you.